What's up, everyone? It is Bucky Brooks, and my man LZ, Lance Zierlein, is here. And this is the Move to Six podcast. And today we're going to break down the rookies, and we're going to begin to get a little insight from Lance on which rookies should be the front runners for the Offensive Rookie of the Year award, the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. And then I'm going to press him on, hey, man, give me some dark horses, some guys that can come out the backwoods to maybe steal the plaque or the trophy at the end of it. So, LZ, what's going on, man?
What's up? I'm excited to get into it. This is, this is our time. We watch the players who we studied, and now we try to take their college tape and plug them in with the pros. And how are we looking? Do we get it right early on? Do we see people who are making jumps very, very quickly? Every year I get the email from Dan Parr. Hey, Lance, hope you're having a great summer. Uh-oh, here comes the articles. And he said, offensive and defensive rookie of the year. And I said, okay, cool. This is a great way for me to get a feel for what we don't do a lot of it here on the podcast or in anything that we're doing, but I like to look at what the odds are for these guys from the different casinos and see how much it aligns with what my thoughts are after studying the tape and studying where they are. And sometimes it aligns, and sometimes I think they got it way wrong. So we can take a look at that. And I'll give you my thoughts on this. I had Keon Coleman, number 10. Now, we all love Keon Coleman's personality and everyone's all excited about all the sound bites with Keon Coleman. But when it came time for me to look at Rookie of the Year, this is what I said. He's got Dalton Kincaid, who I think is going to be a breakout star this year for Josh Allen. James Cook and Ray Davis, who's a rookie out of Kentucky, who can play all three downs as well. Is a good backup, a bigger player than James Cook. And I started thinking, they may really start to lean more on that Tony Gonzalez, Antonio Gates. Hey, let's run everything through the tight end could be our number one pass catcher, and we're going to run the ball a little bit more. So when I got to Keon Coleman, I thought, yeah, in theory, he's a good Rookie of the Year candidate. But my problem was I don't know if he's going to be able to get open enough, Bucky, against NFL corners outside. I'm not sure that he's not maybe going to have some learning curves there. And then, his quarterback is a great quarterback, but he's not exactly Mr. Pinpoint precision all the time on the throws down the field. So I love the ball winning of Keon Coleman. I love the catch radius. I think they both work in his favor. But I think Josh Allen may start to lock in on Dalton Kincaid, which will hurt Keon Coleman's chances of winning Rookie of the Year.
I think the thing that hurts Keon Coleman is not even him, is the guys that are around him. Look, they have a hodgepodge of playmakers that they've assembled, hodgepodge of pass catchers. I wouldn't even say playmakers, hodgepodge of pass catchers that they've kind of brought together to try and sort out to see which ones can be their top 5 or 6 wide receivers. And Keon Coleman is someone who, at Florida State, he's shown the ability to be a big-time playmaker. But if you don't have someone that can maybe uncover him or take the top off the defense, man, it becomes really, really tight when you think about a tight end-centric passing game with Keon Coleman as the complement. So I would need to see this Buffalo Bills team play out. And I know the Buffalo Bills are counting on Josh Allen to elevate the wide receiver core in a way that Pat Mahomes was able to do in Kansas City. Right. I just don't know if there's enough speed on the field to be able to change it. And I know people going to say, well, what about Khalil Shakur and what about KJ Hamler who could come in? We'll see which guys eventually make the team. But right now they don't have an established number one. And that makes it really, really easy for defense to kind of clamp down and squeeze the passing game and really make it very, very tight for the quarterback.
Well, that leads me to the next two guys. And I actually love both these players this year. I've got Rome Odunze, number 9, and he's plus 4,000 from an odds standpoint, meaning he's 40 to 1. It's $100 to win 4,000, just to give you an idea. He's 40 to 1. And number 8, I've got Ladd McConkey, who's at 30 to 1. I think with Rome Odunze, it's just simply a case of so many weapons. And in our last podcast, we talked about all the weapons for Caleb Williams. I just think there's so many mouths to feed there in Chicago. It's going to be hard for Odunze to get the amount of catches. And even if he does get the catches, the guy throwing it to him is still going to be the front runner. So I think I'll have a hard time winning that award now. But I do expect a good season from Rome Odunze. To me, I think Ladd McConkey is the guy to really keep an eye on as a dark horse, because I know he's 30 to 1, but man, you've got a lot of opportunities for. I mean, do you feel like Quentin Johnston has earned the trust of of Jim Harbaugh or earned the trust, more importantly, of Justin Herbert? I don't know that. With the drops, I don't know that he has. You have two wide receivers who have been there forever are gone. You have Ladd McConkey, who can get open and separate on really all three levels. He's a great route runner, has good separation burst, has some speed deep and great hands, catches everything. I mean, would it be crazy for Justin Herbert to really kind of lock in on his rookie wide receiver who he feels confident in that he can throw to windows and he'll make catches?
Yeah, that's tough, right? Because I've seen these clips on social media, and some of these appear to be edited and doctored when they're talking about Quentin Johnson struggling with the over-the-shoulder catches and all this other stuff. I'll say this, man. He was a good player at TCU. He has some issues with the dropsies, but if he can give them that vertical element to complement what should be a pretty physical running game, he can still be an effective player. But in terms of the numbers, I don't know. And so that really opens up a lane for Ladd McConkey to kind of come in there and be the chain mover. The issue that we're having with all of the Chargers right now is, man, the injuries. Like, I don't know what's in the water down there in El Segundo, but there's something going on where these dudes get banged up and beat up. But Ladd McConkey is a good route runner. He's interesting. He will need Quentin Johnson to be able to take some of that coverage away, but he should be able to be a productive chain mover. I don't know if he scored enough touchdowns to wiggle his way into that award, though.
I've got number 7. I almost jumped the gun last podcast with Xavier Worthy. I got him 7. And Bucky, the only thing that bothers me is I think like Deshaun Jackson, who is his comp, I think he's going to end up being feast or famine from game to game. Like, he's going to be a high-yield wide receiver. He's going to have some long touchdowns. He's going to have some games where he may go for 220 yards receiving and 2 or 3 touchdowns. But I also think that, teams are going to have to, give him some cloud coverage, play over the top, shade to him. So he's not going to just be able to run free down the field. Teams are going to be well aware of his speed. The other thing is, I don't think he's really a volume catch guy. He's 160 pounds, somewhere in that neighborhood, 165. So he's not a big guy. I don't think you want to put him in harm's way over the middle where he can get hit. So I'm not sure that I know that he'll have explosive games. I just don't know that he'll have enough targets to really factor into Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, because when you think about Rookie of the Year, particularly coming off of what the performance that Puka Nacua did, and the fact that everyone coming into the year, they're going to want to give the award to a quarterback, because you have a quarterback-heavy class. You know that everyone is going to be looking at the numbers. So the numbers that you're going to have to put up to knock one of those guys off, it's going to have to be big. And so Worthy's going to have to be a big play machine where he goes over, in my mind, 1,000 yards and has a bunch of touchdowns to catch the attention and the eyes of the voter. Because right now, they already have that thing locked in. It says blankety blank, quarterback blank, because that's where it's going more than likely when it comes to that award.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Last year, he's probably going to have to look at 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns to have a shot. Puka Nacua had 105 catches, 1,486 yards, and 6 touchdowns, and he couldn't beat C.J. Stroud. Now, Stroud had he had 1,486 yards and 105 touchdowns. Had he put up 105 catches, had he put up 10 or 11 touchdowns, I mean, man, how close would that have been? Just that's an insane amount of production for a rookie wide receiver, and he came from the 5th round. I mean, that's not even who does that. I want to make sure he was 5th round here.
He was 5th round.
He came from the 5th round. Last year. Yeah. So that's special. But it would take that. I think it would take that kind of year. And I just don't know that you're ever going to see Patrick Mahomes target a 160-pound guy that much. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think he's going to be. The bigger question is, can he help the Kansas City offense get back to a Super Bowl? And I think he's got a chance to do that. I love what he brings to the offense. I just think from a Rookie of the Year standpoint, maybe not as much. Now, I had number 4, J.J. McCarthy, so I'm going to bump him out of there. And now we'll make it Bo Nix, number 5, and Malik Neighbors, number 4. Bo Nix in that offense, can he do enough to be Rookie of the Year? Is this going to be the Mac Jones type of game management into position to be a Rookie of the Year? Can he be more explosive than Mac Jones offensively his rookie year.
Yeah, no, look, here's the thing. He's off to a good start. And I wondered if they had enough weapons, firepower for him to really be able to thrive and flourish in this offense. But the way that it's looking, and it's only preseason, the way that it's looking, Sean Payton is going to put the onus on him to create opportunities for Bo Nix to just manage the game, take the easy completion, and kind of get it done that way. If he does that, like, they have more than enough in terms of their defense to win games. And if Bo Nix is able to kind of guide this team into playoff contention, he's going to get some consideration because everyone is going to fall in love with the story of the rookie player jumping in, getting this team, I would say, off the scrap heap and kind of leading them into contention. This dude has some maturity and some poise and some leadership about him that he's going to make you kind of fall in love with him. It's just a matter of it will he be productive enough to kind of get into consideration to really steal the award.
Yeah. Who do you like more as a rookie, Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison? Who's going to have the bigger rookie year? The better quarterbacking appears to be with Arizona if Kyler can stay on the field. But, I mean, I'm having a hard time figuring out who I like more. When I wrote the article in late June, I had it as Marvin Harrison. But the more I've seen of Malik Neighbors, I had him as my number one player in the draft. Malik is legit. And the question becomes, how do they get him to football?
Yeah, that's the thing. The quarterback dictates it. And let's be honest, Kyler Murray is a better player than Daniel Jones right now. And that would lead me to believe that Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get a ton of balls. And I could see him putting up the kind of numbers that Puka Nacua put up as the number one receiver in that offense because he's coming into an offense where he's going to be the focal point and the feature guy in the passing game. That means on the call sheet, the offensive coordinator has 10 to 12 calls that are designed just to get Marvin Harrison the ball because he can dictate the coverage. He can help kind of tilt the field in the offense's favor. Yeah, I can see him having a more productive year than Malik Neighbors. And part of Malik Neighbors' issues will be to the quarterback. Can they trust Daniel Jones to throw it enough where Malik Neighbors can have a big impact on the game?
Right. Yeah, and that's going to be the question with both those guys. I think they're immensely talented, but Marvin to me just simply has the better opportunity. He steps in as and he's very polished. So he's going to step in, I think, as the new DeAndre Hopkins for Kyler Murray. And I think once Kyler has a guy that he loves, he's going to pump him the ball. And I think Marvin Harrison is going to end up having the better statistical year. But Malik Neighbors, if Daniel Jones can get on the ball, has a chance to really make some noise. I've got my top three. I had Jaden Daniels number 3, Marvin Harrison number 2, and Caleb Williams number 1. Caleb Williams is almost a pick 'em. Bucky, I think it's going to take a lot to unseat Caleb Williams. I think it will have to be a quarterback, and the guy that makes the most sense, obviously, I think would be Jaden Daniels, who can run and pass, who can put up different kinds of touchdowns in different ways. I think it would have to be Jaden to unseat Caleb Williams as the favorite. The problem is, I think Ryan Poles has done a good job of building the talent around Caleb Williams to have him prepared to step in and put some numbers on the board right away.
Yeah, it's going to be hard, man, because he's the media darling already. He's already teased us and given us a little bit of what we wanted to see from him, which was we wanted to see him kind of show us that he has some of that Pat Mahomes-like ability. And we've seen some of that stuff in the preseason. That gives him a nice head start. And this offense looks like it has the pieces to be pretty good. So he doesn't have to be spectacular. He just has to rely on the playmakers. And he has, I would say, experienced playmakers, which is key for young quarterbacks. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, running back in DeAndre Swift. Yeah, you have another young player in Rome Odunze, but Rome Odunze is just playing a complementary role. He doesn't need to be the lead horse in that offense. To me, on paper, it just looks too easy for Caleb Williams to be able to ring up these numbers that are going to be eye-popping and very similar to what C.J. Stroud had, but in a different way, because no one thought that C.J. Stroud was going to put up these numbers. The expectation is that Caleb Williams is going to put up numbers that are comparable to what C.J. Stroud put up.
Yeah, I think it's going to be so hard. Now, defensively, I think the defensive rookie of the year, I wrote this article as well. You can find it at NFL.com. Hold
Hold
My
on.
dark horse.
Yeah, give me a dark horse. All right, here we go.
I have it, and you're not going to see him as a dark horse, but I kind of did with Brian Thomas Jr. I looked at BTJ and I said, man, Trevor, you giving Trevor all this money. You're going to have to – we got to have a toy here that's going to help him, earn his money and show what he's capable of doing. And you got someone who's bigger, faster, and even more explosive than Malik Neighbors, and Malik is great in all those elements. Brian Thomas Jr. is actually bigger, faster, a more explosive athlete. He has 17 touchdown catches last year. So when you look at Brian Thomas Jr., there's not really anything other than that dog mentality that Malik has. I know Brian Thomas is a lot quieter. I think when you dig around, and I like some of the wide receiver pieces at Jacksonville, but I still don't see – like it would be Calvin Ridley one week, and then it would be the slot receiver.
Oh, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, Christian Kirk. It would be Kirk one week, had the big week, and then it would be Calvin Ridley who had the big week. And you couldn't – they never locked in with the number one. Bucky, you've seen it. Can Brian Thomas Jr. start to work his way into being a wide receiver number one type of player in year one?
Yeah, I think it would be tough for him to be a wide receiver one right away. But I will say what he does is this. This offense in Jacksonville works inside out with Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram as the anchors. Gabe Davis is another big play threat that he'll have to share the marquee with when it comes to the explosive plays. That said, what you may see, small number of receptions, big number when it comes to yards per catch and touchdowns. Brian Thomas Jr. is going to give them something that they haven't had in, I would say, the Doug Peterson era, which is a legitimate field stretcher. You don't score 17 touchdowns against SEC competition and come to the league and be a slouch. He is going to give them that home run element that they needed. And the fact that he's actually going to play opposite or with Gabe Davis, two explosive players running down. I'm telling you, it's going to be like a fast break where Trevor Lawrence is going to be able to pick and choose. And the thing that Trevor Lawrence, because it's a natural EC pen, you got to kind of justify and validate why Trevor Lawrence got the money that he got. So I think you will see, intentional or unintentional, you will see the ball go down the field more as they try and kind of get some of that going. And the offense needs it. But I think it's just a natural thing. When the quarterback gets paid, you do showcase him a little bit. I think BTJ is going to have a huge year. He's going to have a bunch of explosive plays. I don't know what the catch totals look like, but the explosives are going to be eye-popping.
Yeah, that's why I put him as, the more you talk about it, the more I think, man, I wonder if a dark horse in fantasy football should be Trevor Lawrence from the standpoint of you've got a guy who can work the middle in the seams and outrun people in Evan Ingram. You got two vertical guys and BTJ who can do more than just be a vertical. Gabe is more of a linear vertical player. And then you got Etienne who can catch out of the backfield as well. So you've actually got – and then Christian Kirk. I mean, you've got a lot of different weapons over there for a player. And as you mentioned, you got to try to prove why it was that you gave him that much money and give him chances. But there's players over there now.
I know, and your people down there in Houston got to stir it up now because everyone talking about C.J. Stroud being the best in the division. Then they talk about Anthony Richardson, and then there's some love on the streets for Will Levis and little old Trevor making all that money. Got to show and prove, and so you got to poke the bear a little bit. So it should be fun to watch that play out because BTJ is really talented, really fluid. He is someone that is certainly of interest when we think about it. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about these defensive rookie of the year candidates. All right, LZ. So now we talked about the offense. Everyone loves offense, but give an old defensive back a little love when we talk about these defensive rookie of the year candidates. Who are you looking at?
Well, I tell you what, let me start with the guy that I think is one of the most interesting long shots on the board, Peyton Wilson, plus 2,600. Man, Baldy got a hold of some of that Houston Texans, Pittsburgh Steelers tape and started going to work on it. And then I took his key and I went and watched the game tape. I mean, let me tell you something. Woo! You thought you were going to run outside zone on Peyton Wilson. He knew every gap to fit up in. Everything is a downhill shot, so he's fast and he plays downhill, so he's meeting you at the line of scrimmage. If there's one thing in studying this article that I've done over the last few years, I've studied the article. I came up with a guy who was a long shot who won, a guy named Shaq Leonard, Darius Leonard back in the day. And it's because if you find a linebacker who can fill up the stat sheet in multiple categories, you can win this award. And so the two guys that I thought were interesting there were Edgerrin Cooper, who is a really, really fast playmaker who gets to play next to Quay Walker in Green Bay. So you got him playing on third downs. He's a great blitzer, so he can get you sacks. He can cover man-to-man. He's got low 4.4 speed to fly around and make a bunch of tackles. And then Peyton Wilson. Now, Peyton Wilson on the pecking order is not first. I don't think he's first team yet, but you can see, like, he's good enough to be a starter. So those are two guys to me that are kind of long shots on the board at linebacker. The position they play, the opportunity to rack up a bunch of stats in multiple categories. And then, at linebacker, you're flashy. Your category is not just tackles. I mean, your category can be strip sacks. It can be scoop and score fumbles. It can be an interception. There's a lot of different ways. It can be you running sideline to sideline to smack somebody. There's a lot of ways that you can pop and flash as a linebacker.
Yeah, you can pop and flash a few different ways. I love him, man. He's one of my favorite prospects in the draft. I just love the way he plays. And I know people talked about the medical probably led him to drop, but in terms of the position, he plays the position like you should play it as a top pick. He was a first-round talent that fell. The Pittsburgh Steelers benefit from it. He is going to make a lot of plays. And you talked about Baldy showcasing those things. I am not surprised when you guys talk about him making plays from sideline to sideline, because that's what he did at NC State, and I would expect him to do it in the pros.
Yeah, and a couple of guys who were different types of playmakers. At cornerback, I want to focus on number 6 and number 5. 6 is Terrion Arnold, who was plus 1,000. That means it's 10-1. And then you've got 9.5-1 with Keon Mitchell. I didn't realize just how bad the Eagles secondary was until I really got into the numbers. It was like, oh my gosh, terrible. I mean, they don't take the ball away at all. They don't take the ball away at all. And so if Mitchell can come in and that defense gets a lot better, he's going to get a lot of the credit for it if he plays good football. Usually you have to have 5 interceptions or more to win Rookie of the Year defensively, but Sauce Gardner won Defensive Rookie of the Year with, I think, 3. So he showed that that's not necessarily the case. So Keon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold, I think Terrion Arnold was on another secondary that was very up and down with the Lions. Arnold is a guy who you're going to see talking before games, giving speeches, see him on the sideline like he's a boisterous, energetic, high character player that you're going to hear Detroit talk when you're watching games. They're going to say, boy, this staff raved about Terrion Arnold, what he brought to the room and his leadership on the field. So we're going to get inundated with Terrion Arnold's stories, but he can also play. Like, he can really play. I don't know that he's as polished from a cover standpoint as Keon Mitchell. I think Mitchell has the traits are a little bit better, and I think he's actually got the polish to play a couple different coverages. But those two guys, to me, Bucky, I think have a chance. If we're talking about cornerbacks winning the award, both of them have a shot there in the middle of my 1 through 10 list.
Yeah, like interesting players. And you just think about like those guys having opportunities, being given showcase opportunities. DBs, like you just wonder, because you talk about Sauce Gardner and your guy down in H-Town, Derek Stingley, who has a lot of love, a lot of people out there talking about him and those guys. And he can go. Like, you're looking to see which guys are going to have an opportunity early to showcase those skills as lockdown guys. It'll be interesting, man, because Terrion Arnold is a guy who, it's funny because all the DBs that went, people talk about Keon Mitchell, you talk about Arnold, even Kool-Aid McKinstry, who was doing a pretty good job early in his time at the Saints. Like, there were some interesting DBs, not the top 10 guys that you talk about, but we've seen, man, some of these guys that weren't top 10, they end up being much better players than many people envision right away.
Colts got one in Mike Abram that's already making some noise, but here's one for you as well. Who's the last defensive tackle who won Defensive Rookie of the Year?
Ooh, I can't. Rookie of the Year? The only one I can think about, the Aaron Donald win Rookie of the Year?
Aaron Donald. That's the last one, 2014. It's been a decade since a defensive tackle won Defensive Player of the Year.
Time to bring it back. Time to bring it back.
Byron Murphy, 14-1 long shot. Can Byron Murphy, baby Aaron Donald, can he make that kind of noise over there for the Raiders? I mean, the Seahawks. Does he have that ability? They've already got a good defensive line in Seattle. He's going to rotate in. He's a guy that I think can get to the quarterback more than he did at Texas. I think he's got that ability. From a run defense standpoint, he's about as clean as you're going to get. can Byron Murphy be the disruptor? I think he's got a chance to really become disruptive, run and pass. So I put him as my number 4 defensive rookie of the year candidate at 14-1.
Ooh, so here's why I'm with you on that pick. Justin Madubuike, playing for Mike McDonald, exploded last year. So Mike McDonald now gets a player who has that ability, but he's surrounded with, I would even say that, let's be honest, the Baltimore Ravens were kind of throwing the pieces together. Kyle Van Noy, Jadeveon Clowney, and those guys. Like, you have guys in Seattle that are really solid players. Leonard Williams on one side, Draymond Jones you still have. You got some young guys, Boye Mafe. Byron Murphy's going to have an opportunity to be put in that showcase spot to go get it. And Mike McDonald does a really good job of creating opportunities at the line of scrimmage through illusions, like the way they do simulated pressures and those things. Byron Murphy certainly could be one of those guys that backdoors his way into an 8-10 sack season, because he's really explosive. He's really good with his hands, and the scheme is going to really set him up for some opportunities.
Yeah, more importantly, he's got secondary motor. Like, his secondary rush, because he's so explosive in short spaces, and his motor is nonstop. Once he gets off of a block, he can get to your quarterback. If your quarterback's holding the ball a little too long in the NFL, which more and more quarterbacks do, he's the type of guy that can get there and finish. So, and you talked about McDonald simulating pressure. That's one of the things he's going to do, is he wants to influence your protection. And he's the one who was very, very involved in drafting Byron Murphy. So he knows what Byron Murphy's capable of. He's going to want to put him in those kind of opportunities. And I think Byron Murphy, to me, that's why I felt like 4 wasn't too high for him, is I do think his sack total could be closer to 7.5 to 8 sacks. His TFLs are going to be double digits. I think he's going to be a great NFL player. You know, how quickly does it manifest in statistics for defensive rookie of the year? I don't know. I do think it's going to manifest quickly for my top 2 guys. Number 2, I've got Dallas Turner. Now, Bucky, you've seen Dallas Turner this preseason. I think Dallas Turner, with Brian Flores, we talked about this, a tremendous opportunity for him to get isolated on one-on-ones. But he has rare combination of length and explosive speed and bend that once you get to the pros and once you tighten up some of the hand usage, and, you know, if he gets with the right guy to teach him this move or that move, he's got the tools and the traits that we talked about to really take it to another level. Yep,
he does have that. And you want guys that can go to another level. And one of the things that we talk about is not only the traits and the tools, it's the motor. The motor is what is key. And that is a skill. And the great ones have that. They have that third lung. They can play all day. They go after it. They're relentless in their approach. He has that.
He's got it. My number 1 guy is Jared Verse, and he's 10-1. So he's a long shot. But you know what? I remember over the years, the one thing that I've learned from evaluating players is a lot of times I get too excited about the whirling dervishes, the spin move guys, and the guys with the fast get off. And I mean, now every once in a while you run into a Micah Parsons, but I graded him as a linebacker coming out. So I didn't even get that chance to grade him as a rusher. But one thing that plays in the NFL is power. If you've got the ability, if you're a roughneck, and that's what we called him. Remember, Buck, back in the days with Timberlands in the 90s? Gotta get a roughneck. Got to get a roughneck. Yeah. If you get a roughneck who can run through players, who has that power to get up under the pads and leverage, you know, people talk about the spin move from new Hall of Famer out of Indianapolis, Dwight Freeney. Yeah. People sleep on his bull rush. Like, he could hit you with a speed to power bull rush too, because he was compact but explosive. So if you're sitting there playing passive as a pass setter and you're waiting for him to hit a spin move and then boom, he's right up the middle on you, you're going to be on skates. And Jared Verse can put guys on skates, and he is a run defender as well. He can play you against the run at the point of attack. He's got the power. I think there's still some polish needed with his pass rush, but speed to power translates quickly in the NFL.
It does translate quickly. And when you have that, you talk about Jared Verse being able to have that and being able to learn one of those patented moves. Like, if you have one of those moves that you can just pull out against anybody and it's unstoppable, yeah, it's a problem. And I will say it's funny you bring up Dwight Freeney because I remember watching him when he was coming out and thinking about some of the awkwardness that he displayed as a rusher. But man, you talk about a legendary pass rusher who was able to get it done and do it in his own way. Why not? Why can't Jared Verse just come right in, step in, and attack and dominate from the time he stepped into the thing?
You know, their defense coordinator's already talked about young Byron Young, and he made a comment. I was reading an article that he said Jared Verse is already bringing into our team the juice, the energy, the leadership that we were hoping from a very when we drafted him. We had heard this is who he was. That's the vibe we got. And when we brought him in, that's exactly who he's been. He's helping Byron Young come out of his shell a little bit. So the Rams are really quietly excited about, you know, Turner in the middle and then Byron Young on one side, and you've got Jared Verse on the other side. That could be one of those defenses that really is a swarm unit that's able to get after you like a big old pile. I don't know if you ever have fire ants, Bucky, like we get in Texas. You get them fire ants on you. Oh, my God. It's the worst. You can't get rid of them.
You can't get rid of them.
And they come back. They come back over and over.
Oh, they never stop, Lance. They always are coming. Like they're relentless. They're relentless all the time. Just coming at you. Yeah, so I get that. Well, look, man, this is always fun. LZ, anybody else you want to throw in there? Defensive rookie?
Let me throw in one more. My long shot there was a guy that I liked a lot, and it's Tyler Nubin out of the Giants. Tyler Nubin, to me, anytime you get a very heady safety who plays with great instincts and anticipation and who has ball skills, immediately you'd start thinking of like Eddie Jackson, you know, those guys who all of a sudden they start piling on big plays. Oh, Tyler Nubin already has 7 interceptions and we're in week 15 and he has 2 for touchdowns. All of a sudden it's like, man, Tyler Nubin, where'd this come from? But he's a guy that when you have ball production as a safety throughout college, it's not an accident. That's a skill. You know, it's not all just tip balls. A lot of times you know where the ball's going. So if you play with anticipation and you've got ball skills, then you got a chance to rake up the interceptions. And that's one of those things you have to have if you're going to win. If you're going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. The last rookie to win it at safety, I think, was Mark Carrier. So it's been a long time.
Long time coming. That's interesting, man. Like I like Tyler Nubin. I loved him at Minnesota, man. His tape, he was all over the place, swiping balls and those things. And you would like the thing with the Giants up front. They have guys up front that can hunt. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau. Like you have 3 guys that are really effective at getting to the quarterback. And if they can rush 4 and play in coverage like Shane Bowen wants to do, this is going to be an opportunity for him to get a bunch of tips and intercept a bunch of interceptions off tips and overthrown balls because of the pressure up front.
That's right. That's right. And that's what you got to do. That's what you got to have. So those are some looks on the offensive side and the defensive side at some of the guys. And I'm really interested to watch your guy, Peyton Wilson. I think that he's one of those guys that, you know, for those people who are running to Vegas playing those little plays, I'm like,
those parlays.
Woo!
Yeah.
Woo! I'm looking at 30-1 or whatever he is, 28-1. I'm thinking, man, that guy could end up making some noise.
He could make some noise. Well, Lance, man, this is fun, man. It's always fun having you pop on. Love your insight. Love your perspective. We're going to have to do it again. Even when DJ comes back, we have to bring you on so we can have some more conversations like that.
Come on. All I'm doing is sitting here eating breakfast tacos and trying not to sweat outside. So it's not like I'm doing anything else. Let's go.
Come on, man. H-Town putting it down. So, guys, that's Moody 6 for the day. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe. Keep tuning in. Make sure you tell a friend to come and join us until the end of the week. I'm Bucky Brooks. That was Lance C. We'll see you again on Moody 6.